Hello guys, LEGO Master Reviews here, and it is once again that time of year. I'll be giving you my list of the top 10 minifigures of 2025. It's been such a great year for minifigures, from the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse CMF series to getting a Fantastic Four for the first time, as well as all the unique figures from the Death Star, and just so many great UCS sets this year, and just so many unique Star Wars sets with great figures, as well as getting a new Jurassic World movie and getting like themes returning and sets from movies we've never gotten before, as well as just like new movies that got sets and just so many new unique molds and figures. So yeah, I think it's been an absolutely phenomenal year, and I'm not kidding when I say this was the hardest list to make yet. There's just so much great stuff. And for those of you that are new here and haven't maybe seen one of my top 10s before, it can be from any theme, the minifigures. It doesn't really matter if it's Marvel, DC, Star Wars, Harry Potter, just absolutely anything, as long as it's a minifigure, and obviously as long as it released in 2025. And with that being said, there will also be some honorable mentions here, and minifigures that I don't own can also be on the list and be in honorable mentions too, and you'll see that throughout this video. But without further ado, let's get into my top 10 minifigures of 2025. And coming in at number 10 is Monkey D. Luffy from the One Piece sets. I am far from the biggest fan of One Piece. I really know next to nothing. But one thing I do know is that this minifigure is absolutely phenomenal. From all the pictures I've seen, this is literally spot on. The dual molded legs are absolutely incredible, as well as the leg printing, the toe printing, the torso printing is also amazing. As you can see, he also has a hat accessory which can be held by his hand. There's also other versions of this minifigure that have like a hair and hat combo as well. This is the version I have with the normal hair piece, which is also a brand new mold for the character, which also is just super accurate. I also really love the face printing with kind of a laughing face on one side and a more kind of like smiling, determined face on the other, which also just looks incredible. And again, while I'm far from the biggest One Piece fan, I really know nothing, I can acknowledge that this is a phenomenal minifigure, and I really wish that this level of quality and care went into themes like Star Wars and Marvel and DC, because this is really just a CMF quality minifigure that was in a normal set. So I love this figure, and that's why it lands at number 10 on my list. And coming in at number 9 is Cassian Andor from the U-Wing set from Andor Season 2, and I feel like this is a very underrated minifigure. It is literally perfect and so accurate to how Andor looks in Andor Season 2, mainly towards the end of Season 2, but this minifigure is just spot on here. The leg printing looks phenomenal, with the holster kind of printed on there, and the jacket is also insanely accurate. There's so many details with the dark brown as well as the light brown, but also on the front of the jacket, all the different like garments and just pieces of it. The shirt underneath, just so perfect. The face print is also perfect, literally just so spot on, so accurate. You can see on the back he has a very upset face, as well as a much more happy face, and this face print is very similar to the Andor face print from Rogue One, but also the skin tone is much more accurate and updated compared to those sets, and the hairpiece is also perfect. The blaster he includes is also very accurate to how his blaster is in the show, even though it's not like its own mold or anything. I actually think it looks pretty good, and overall, I just love this minifigure so much, and definitely one of, if not the most underrated Star Wars figures of the year. I think this figure is just absolutely phenomenal, and I loved Andor Season 2 just as much as I love this minifigure. And coming in at number 8 is Obi-Wan Kenobi from the V19 Torrent set. I think this minifigure is incredible as well. It's obviously an updated version of Obi-Wan Kenobi from the Clone Wars here with his Clone Wars armor. And we of course get that immaculate arm printing, it just looks phenomenal. But the leg printing is also very great, though it is the one thing that holds this minifigure down from being a little higher on my list. I think had these legs been dual molded, this would have easily been a top 3 figure of the year for me. But regardless, I think the leg printing does look great. And obviously the arm printing is genuinely perfect and just looks so incredible there with all the details printed on there. You can see you get some great torso printing as well as back torso printing, and the face print is also very good there, as you can see, with a smiling face on one side and a much more angry face on the other. He of course has a great hairpiece and obviously his lightsaber, and overall, again, I think this minifigure is phenomenal, and had there been a little bit of dual molding, this would have been a top 3 minifigure of the year. But either way, he's still a great minifigure, and the arm printing is genuinely perfect. And coming in at number 7 is Plo Koon from Plo Koon's Jedi Starfighter Microfighter, which is unfortunate that we didn't get an actual play scale Plo Koon Starfighter this year. But regardless, I think this figure is phenomenal. It's kind of shocking that this figure came in a Microfighter, because the head mold on this figure is obviously brand new for this year, and it is just absolutely perfect. There's nothing you could change about it. It is literally this so screen accurate and so perfect. You can see it's dual molded. So you have the mask kind of molded in there, as well as the eyes, and just all the different details around the entire head is just phenomenal. So I think this is actually the best like new mold for a minifigure this year. It's literally perfect, so I love that so much. The torso printing is also really great there. You can see you have his robes there, as well as a bit of his belt. You also get his belt on the other side, and the legs are also pretty detailed, kind of carrying down the dark brown robe. But then you can see that when you turn the minifigure to the side, that is light brown. So just like Obi-Wan Kenobi not having dual molded legs, this figure also does not have dual molded legs, and I think that would have gone a long way here, and definitely would have put him higher on the list. But regardless, I still think the legs do look very nice there, with a bit of like tan right there, as well as a black line on each foot too, which is a very subtle detail, but also is very cool. He of course has his lightsaber as well, and overall I think this minifigure again is just absolutely stunning. The head mold is just beyond perfect, and had there been dual molded legs, I also think this would have been a top 3 minifigure, but regardless, still an absolutely incredible minifigure. And at number 6, I have a minifigure I don't personally own yet, being the Jack Sparrow minifigure from the Black Pearl set. I think this minifigure is just an amazing upgrade to the Jack Sparrow minifigures of the past, which were also great minifigures, but this one really does take it to a whole new level with the dual molded legs, as well as the updated skin tone. I think the torso printing and leg printing too is just amazing, and how it continues down to the legs, and you can see both the facial expressions are just so insanely accurate, as well as that amazing hat and hair mold there just looks great as well. And overall, I just think this minifigure is incredible from head to toe. I cannot wait to own this one. I think it's a great upgrade, and overall I just think it had to be on this list because it's just a genuinely fantastic minifigure. And cracking into our top 5, we're officially halfway through this list. We of course have Gwen Stacy from the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse CMF series, and this minifigure is the definition of a comeback after the absolutely abysmal version we got in that January Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse set. This minifigure was just such a good comeback and just such a great minifigure, like literally perfect. The next 5 minifigures you see here, including this one, are literally perfect. Like there's nothing you could change about them. They're absolutely just spot on perfect. But yeah, really hard to rank here, but I had to put Gwen Stacy here at number 5. I think this minifigure is just phenomenal. Starting with the hairpiece here, it's literally perfect, like with like the shorter side on one side, as well as the pink highlights. It looks absolutely perfect. It's literally nothing you could change about it. It's perfect. Then the face print also is very cool to get there. You can see a smiling face on one side and a much more upset face on the other side. You also get the torso print, which is the same torso print from the minifigure from January, but that torso print was brand new for this minifigure. That's the only good thing about that minifigure. So of course they just carried it over here. Nothing wrong with that. It looks great. You can even see there's like kind of like dots printed on the torso. It's very subtle, kind of hard to see, but there's kind of like bluish dots printed on there. You can see in the light, you can like vaguely see them, and the same does apply to the front of the torso there. So that is very cool. Just very cool to see him try to get that like very stylized art printed on the figure. Kind of reminds me of the Clone Wars, Star Wars figures in a way. Just so cool to get that. But of course, you also get the phenomenal arm printing too, with the turquoise webbing on top of the pink, and you get that on both arms there, so that's also great. And I didn't even mention the dual molded legs with side leg printing, the black and turquoise dual molded legs, just absolutely phenomenal as well, with the spider printed on the side there, as well as the laces there, and of course like a little bit of like detail that carries on to the front where you get toe printing. Just incredible leg printing, and there's also some very slight like blue printing above the legs too, which is crazy as well. So just the sheer amount of detail on the minifigure alone is just incredible. But the accessories are also very detailed too, with of course this photograph of her and Miles, which this technically isn't like part of the minifigure, but it is included with the minifigure, so worth mentioning at the very least. But of course you also get her mask here, so taking off this head and hairpiece, you put on the mask, and you can see it looks phenomenal as well there, with the very big lenses, as well as the dots around the lenses. Again, kind of going for like that stylized look, which is just so cool. You also of course get that hood piece too on top of that, but this alone is also just so incredible, not to mention again the absolutely phenomenal and literally perfect hairpiece there, as well as the incredible face print. So overall, it was so hard to rank these last 5 here, but Gwen comes in at number 5, and this is a minifigure that literally I would change nothing about. And you can't say that about a lot of minifigures, but this minifigure is as close to perfect as you can get. And at number 4, we have Jango Fett from the UCS Jango Fett Slave 1. This minifigure is just phenomenal from head to toe. Starting with the helmet, you can see that he has a brand new mold for the rangefinder, which looks incredible there. And you can obviously lower that down to the visor. That is just a great new mold. The printing for the helmet's also phenomenal with all the different shades of blue, as well as the printing on the side there with like little black lines. Within that print on the other side, you also get a very nice dark blue print. So the helmet is great as well. Removing that though, you'll find an amazing face print underneath as well, with some like scarring as well as a light stubble. And on the other side, you get a much more angry expression too, and you get a hairpiece included with this as well. And I think that is really great. Obviously not as cool as the helmet, but it is nice that you get a hairpiece with them nonetheless. So that is great. Of course, the torso printing also looks phenomenal here, really just amazing. And removing the jetpack that's also included, you get a very nice back torso print too. So I love all the detailing on there, just really, really great. But the highlight on this minifigure for sure, for me at least, is the arm printing. Is just insane levels of detailing there with like the rocket on the gauntlet with the yellow tip on the rocket, as well as like the tubing connecting the shoulder armor to the gauntlet with like lines in the tubing. It's just insane levels of detailing there. And on the other side, you also get two obviously pieces of armor there with his gauntlet and his shoulder armor, and then like a tube connecting them. Just insane levels of detailing. Like I said, I don't know how many times I'm going to say that in this video, but it is just true. It just looks incredible. And then the legs also do look great there with the toe printing, the knee armor, of course, as well as the holsters and even like printing that goes from the hips to the legs. And of course, he also has his iconic blasters. But overall, I think this minifigure is just amazing. The arm printing especially just really elevates this minifigure to a whole new level that I feel like really no other Jango Fett minifigure's ever been before. Cracking into our top 3, at number 3, I had to have Spider-Punk from the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse CMF series. This minifigure is genuinely in a league of its own when it comes to detailing. It's just utterly insane, but starting with the hairpiece here is just so unique and so screen accurate here. I've never seen a hairpiece that looks quite like this, and it's just so accurate to the movies. So really, really love that. Of course, the face printing is also very detailed and accurate too, with all the piercings there, with kind of like an upset expression on one side and a smirk on the other. So really, really like that. Obviously looks a ton like Spider-Punk, but you can obviously remove the head and hair and put on the mask here, which also looks insanely cool there with the giant like lenses there, as well as kind of like the messed up webbing on the mask, because all the details are just spot on there. And of course, you also get that new mold for his mohawk there, which looks amazing as well. And the torso printing too, with all the ripped up just bits of clothing there, just insane. Just the amount of detailing like on the back too, obviously with the spider and Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, like even like the missing bits on the jacket, just utterly insane. Of course, the arm printing also looks incredible with unique prints on each side. And of course, the dual molded legs with side leg printing, just absolutely insane. There's so many details here that it's just hard to even mention them all. Just all the patches and the clothing that like kind of look like Spider-Punk, obviously with that one there, like a mini figure hand there, and just the detail that continues up all the way to the hips there, as well as the detailing that continues to the toes, the laces on the shoes, and just it's utterly insane, just the amount of detail that was put into this minifigure. And of course, his accessory, being his guitar, is also just absurdly detailed there with all the different stickers, like the Spider-Man mask there, and just so many other things. This minifigure, like I said, is in a league of its own. I can name very few minifigures that I think match the level of detailing and quality that this minifigure puts out. So this minifigure had to be in the top 3 of 2025. I think it is genuinely perfect, and there's not a thing I would change about it. And coming in at number 2, we of course had to have the Hot Tub Stormtrooper from the UCS Death Star. This minifigure has easily become the most desirable Star Wars minifigure of 2025, and obviously very understandably so. It's really like nothing we've ever seen before, and everyone's always wanted a Hot Tub Stormtrooper, so the fact that we finally have it here is just so legendary. He looks incredible here. Obviously, he has dual molded legs. He was the only minifigure in the Death Star to actually include dual molded legs, which is kind of crazy, but they look amazing here, obviously, just with that nice red color. Then, of course, you also get the Imperial logo printed on the swim trunks, which is great, and just so many other really nice details, like the little bits of black and everything. Then, of course, he also has a very impressive torso print there with his abs, and on the back, you also get some very nice printing as well. And underneath the helmet, you get a very groovy face print as well, very happy. Then, of course, just the standard Stormtrooper helmet. But this minifigure, even though maybe not as detailed as minifigures like Spider-Punk, Spider-Gwen, Jango Fett, I think is just so legendary, and is, again, the most desirable Star Wars minifigure of 2025. I think literally every Star Wars fan wants this figure, and rightfully so. He's amazing, and that's why he's at number 2. But before we get to number 1, we of course have to have some honorable mentions, starting with the Fantastic Four minifigures from the Fantastic Four vs. Galactus set. One of my favorite sets of the year, and I do really like these minifigures still, but unfortunately they just really needed dual molded legs, and plus the faces on Johnny and Sue are very underwhelming and very generic. Also, the hair on Reed Richards need a little bit of gray on the side, maybe a little less of a beard on Reed Richards as well, and the Thing probably should have been a big fig. So unfortunately, these minifigures were just a little bit underwhelming.
We were on the verge of greatness. We were this close.
So I just really couldn't put them on the top 10, but I still really like them, and I think it's awesome, or should I say fantastic, that we got the Fantastic Four this year. And two other honorable mentions here are Galen Erso and Director Krennic from the UCS Death Star. Both of these figures are amazing, and Galen Erso was the closest minifigure in honorable mentions to making the list, but I ultimately thought that the other figures on the list were just slightly better. But I still really like both these figures. Director Krennic is a very nice upgrade compared to the Rogue One version, which was also a great minifigure, but this one, again, just looks incredible. And getting Galen Erso for the first time I think is so cool too. I love the arm printing on that figure. I think both their face prints are so spot on, and overall both of these minifigures are amazing and are both some of the best Star Wars minifigures of the year. But ultimately I just decided on a few other minifigures that were slightly better, but still, these are amazing figures and I absolutely love them. Another honorable mention here is the Gingerbread Darth Vader minifigure from the Gingerbread AT-AT. I think this minifigure is so unique and I really love the look of him, but a few things held him back. One, not having printed lenses. Just doesn't look the best. I think a little bit of printing would have gone a long way, but also he doesn't have a head print underneath. It's just kind of a generic plain head, so that is unfortunate, but I think had he had both those things, he definitely could have made the list. But regardless, this minifigure is still fantastic. I love all the printing with like little bits of frosting, and of course the cape is spectacular too, with the very nice just frosting details and everything. Just looks amazing, and of course has a cookie and a lightsaber as an accessory. So overall, probably the most unique Darth Vader minifigure we've ever gotten, but just a few things held him back. But I still think he's a great figure and 100% worth getting and adding to the collection because he's just so cool. We, of course, got some minifigures from Jurassic World Rebirth, these three being my favorite. I think these minifigures are really awesome, but I just don't think they were as exciting as the other top 10 figures on this list. But still, these are really great minifigures, and if you were a fan of Jurassic World Rebirth, they're definitely worth getting. We also got some really amazing Fortnite minifigures this year, these two being my favorite, being Peely and Durburger, and the Fortnite theme really does just deliver some amazing minifigures when it comes to molds and prints, and overall, really like these figures, and definitely worth getting if you're a fan of Fortnite. I also really love this Captain America minifigure from the Marvel logo set, but ultimately just does not have enough detail to really make the top 10. He desperately needed dual molded legs, and also a bit of arm printing would have gone a long way, but still I love the suit from the first Captain America movie. It's one of my favorites, and I think this minifigure is still really cool. I do really like this Iron Patriot minifigure, as well as Rocket from Avengers Endgame. I think both these figures are great, particularly the Iron Patriot minifigure. I think is just so vibrant and so accurate to Avengers Endgame, but also the Rocket is a great upgrade compared to that one version we got a few years ago that was kind of like a paler blue color that wasn't really accurate. I think this is a much better version and a much better representation of how Rocket looks in Avengers Endgame, but overall, I think both these minifigures are really great. They just didn't quite make the top 10. But still really like these figures. And even though he is very small, an honorable mention has to go to Babu Frick. We of course can't forget we got Twilight minifigures this year, and I don't even want to talk about this. And lastly, for honorable mentions here, we have these four minifigures from the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse CMF series. I think all four of these figures are absolutely incredible and some of the best of the year, and some of my favorites from the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse CMF series. But overall, they just didn't make the list, but still really like these figures, and they're some of my favorites from the year. Speaking of the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse CMF series, at number 1 we of course have Spider-Man 2099 from Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I think this minifigure is just flawless from head to toe, and I've always wanted this version of the character ever since Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse came out, and I think LEGO just did such a phenomenal job here. Literally a perfect minifigure from head to toe. Starting with the hairpiece here, it is the Han Solo hairpiece, which I think works perfectly here. Really love getting that. But then of course the face printing too is just so accurate here with kind of like the pronounced cheekbones there, the smirk, and on the other side you get the very upset face with the vampire teeth poking through too, which also just looks so cool. I love both the facial expressions here. But then of course you also get his mask, which looks amazing here as well. You can see the kind of like bigger lenses there, as well as even like the dots kind of between the eyes there, just kind of representing the animation style. Just looks so cool. You also get that on the back of the head printed there, which looks great as well. Of course, he also comes with an absolutely phenomenal cape here, which is like a translucent red, but it's also clear on the bottom there with like the pixels disappearing. Just such a unique piece, and I love this so much as well. I think the torso printing on this figure is phenomenal too, with the Spider-Man 2099 logo there with the bits of yellow kind of poking through there, as well as his muscles underneath, and like the blue dots on there, which is also printed on the back of the torso, and that looks amazing as well. I think the arm printing on this figure is flawless too. I love the spikes there that go to like the very back of the arm. Then of course you also see more of those blue dots and just bits of yellow on like the red bit on top of the arm, and that is the exact same on the other side too. Just absolutely amazing. Then the leg printing too is amazing here with the toe printing, and also the blue dots that go to the hip piece and then the leg. Just so much detailing, even like the bits of yellow within the little like prints on the knees there. Just insane levels of detailing. Of course, you also get Lila here, which is a great accessory too, and it's crazy the amount of detailing they're able to get on such a tiny little piece, but that looks incredible as well, and that's a great accessory for him. But overall, I think this figure again is flawless. I love this figure so much. I think it is the best minifigure of 2025. And that is why he's, of course, #1. So absolutely amazing minifigure. I think he's the best, again, figure of 2025. An absolutely just flawless minifigure from head to toe. I think LEGO did a phenomenal job. And that is my #1 minifigure of 2025. But there you have it. These are my top 10 LEGO minifigures of 2025, with the old Jack Sparrow being a placeholder for the new one. Just pretend he's there. But overall, I think this was a phenomenal year for LEGO minifigures. Like I said, this was the hardest year to make a top 10 for sure. There are just so many great things this year with the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse CMF series releasing. Just so many new movies getting sets and themes. Just bringing such unique figures. There was just so much variety this year. And like I said, it was just really hard to pick through them. But yeah, really happy with the ones I did pick. And there definitely was a few disappointments this year for sure. Not getting sets from Superman really sucked, and not getting sets from Thunderbolts is really unfortunate as well. And obviously, we only got one set from Fantastic Four, which also was unfortunate. So I think LEGO could have done a little bit better with the new releases this year. But regardless, I still think there was a lot of great things, and I think next year is going to be really great as well, especially with Spider-Man Brand New Day releasing, as well as Avengers Doomsday. We're getting Supergirl, as well as The Mandalorian and Grogu. I believe we're already rumored to get a Project Hail Mary set. We've seen the F1 set, as well as the Stranger Things set releasing very soon. So there's going to be a lot of great minifigures next year, and I cannot wait. And like I said, I think this year was amazing as well. And let me know in the comments down below what you think of my top 10. Obviously, I'm sure you agree with some. You might disagree with some. Maybe you agree with it all, disagree with it all. Let me know what you think of my list, and also let me know what your top 10 of the year would be. And I want to thank you all for another phenomenal and a just amazing year on YouTube here. I got my most viewed video on the channel ever with my custom Superman from the Superman movie getting 131,000 views. Absolutely insane. Like, I can't even comprehend that. So truly thank you. It's been such an amazing year, and I just am truly appreciative and just really blessed to be able to do this. So thank you all so much, and here's to an amazing 2026. Thank you all again from the bottom of my heart, truly. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed all the videos I put out this year. And with that being said, thank you all so much, and have an amazing 2026.